Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we got another what's inside video, and we are going to be tearing down this Chevy coolant cap. Now I know this video is not going to be all glorious, and some of you might even say, hey, just a cap, who cares? But that's the whole point of these series of videos, guys, is just tear down random stuff that goes on cars and see what failure patterns there are on them and see how they work. So with that said, let's go ahead and tear this down. But before we begin, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below, smash that like button because it helps the channel out. And with that said, let's go ahead and do this really quick teardown on this coolant cap. So this is our coolant cap. This is for an expansion tank system that's under pressure. This one came out of a Chevy. I did a video where we ripped apart the coolant tank on it and showed you guys all the different chambers in there. If that video has came out before this one, you'll see it. Otherwise, it may be soon to come. But either way, today we're tearing apart this cap. There's not a whole lot to these, and to be quite honest with you guys, I've been looking at this, and I'm not even sure how this thing tears apart. But we're gonna figure this out together today. What we're gonna do is use our flathead pocket screwdriver, and the first thing that I'm going to remove here is going to be this gasket. Now I'm not sure exactly what can fail on these, but I can almost guarantee you, just with the years of me working as a tech, this O-ring gasket that we are taking off of here now is probably a good common leak failure pattern item. O-rings do tend to shrink over time. They do tend to develop flat spots. So if you ever have a coolant cap that's, let's say, not keeping pressure, this O-ring may be to blame. That would probably be one of the first patterns I would think. Now, after tearing that O-ring apart, if you guys look down here, you will see that there is another O-ring. Let me see if I can get in there and get this one off. These are very stubborn. These are not like a standard O-ring. They're obviously a high heat, high pressure one. And I'm having a hard time getting in there, but let's see if we got it. All right, there you go. So we do have two O-rings sealing up, and the same case for this O-ring would go for this one. Now, obviously, this one is sealing the whole tank system, and this one is probably sealing off the valve that's going to be in here. That's kind of a diverter valve. It's where the coolant goes if you ever have a spillover. So now that we got our O-rings off, what we're going to be doing is taking off this center. I believe this should just pop out. I'm going to be careful because I don't know if it has a spring attached to it that's going to fight and come at me. So, okay, it doesn't. Okay, so the cap portion itself is separate from the valve portion. As you guys can see here, there's these little fingers, and the way that this holds on is there's a raised lip here, and those little fingers, I assume, grab into it. So you should be able to just snap this back in there in essence. Let's see. Yep, you are able to snap it back in there, so let's go ahead and take it off. So that's just the cap portion. Now that you have this off, actually, you're going to set it to the side because really there's nothing else to see there. To look at this valve here, I had to kind of get a close-up here, and I'm learning this with you guys right now as we're doing this. So our spring and everything I know is contained in here because I can clearly see a spring. It looks like there are little cutouts up here where you might be able to push the screwdriver in to unlock, and I believe this comes off in a two-piece. What I'm going to do now, just to make sure I'm not going to be shooting anything at me, I'm going to put my flathead screwdriver on here and see if I can separate this out. To be honest with you, I don't think I'm going to be able to. Let me see if I can break off the plastic. So it looks like there's a cap up here, and I'm going to try to not point this at you guys because I'm pretty sure this is spring loaded. I have a feeling something is going to be popping out at me here. So let's just keep working this. Now, obviously, you wouldn't do this if you're planning on reusing this part, guys. This is obviously going in the trash afterwards. So hopefully you don't rip one of these apart and expect it to work. And just like that, I knew that we would have some sort of spring mechanism coming out at us. Alright guys, so in the last clip, you guys saw the top hat came off, and all of these parts came off with it as well. Now there was one broken piece that I just noticed. This little tab that is supposed to be on this washer slash sealing valve kind of broke, I guess. Maybe the spring caught it. So this valve actually has three parts to it. Now it's already broken, so the little plunger here can come off. Just go ahead and take that off, and we should have a washer here, which is the gasket portion of it, just like that. So these are all the parts that make up the valve unit here. So you have your bottom tension spring. This keeps a little tension on it. You have your little valve where this spring would sit on, and on the other side this bigger spring, which is the main player in keeping the valve closed, will sit on top of the perch. Now this valve closes down through this gasket washer here that is on our washer. It's a pretty simple design, and then the top of the mainspring would go on this hat and hold everything together. Now this mainspring is the player of the show. This is what controls the pressure. I'm sure this is some sort of a rated spring. As a matter of fact, I know it's a rated spring. But the thing is, I don't know if this is a heat rated spring or if it's just a tension rated spring. And what I mean by that, because I don't know the technical definition for it, guys, but some springs can act like a thermostat in a way where they have a certain heat or degree temperature where they just become weak and will open up and let loose. Some of them could just have a pound restriction, meaning pressure. Now this cap is a 20 psi cap, so I mean this could be either or. It could be temperature spring or it could be pressure sprung. I would think it's more pressure sprung because just the way that this valve is, I would think it's under pressure or under load. Now to show you guys a brief explanation of how this would go in here together is this bottom spring would go on its perch. Now this is going to be very difficult. Let me see, is this magnetized? Yes it is. So we're going to set our little spring in there, and that's how that would normally just sit in there. Now what we would have to do is go ahead and assemble our washer again. So that little gasket would go on our washer, and then our little valve, now it has these little sides that kind of look like two fingers that are supposed to push in and then expand. One of them broke when it came off. It's actually right here, the little piece. So I gotta hold this kind of nicely and gently. And what we're gonna do is insert this on our spring. Now I'm gonna do this, you guys aren't gonna be able to see it, but let's just see if we can set it in there. And that was a major fail. So I'm assuming I would have to go ahead and put the spring on here first. Let me see. Alright, actually guys, I think I got this backwards. Let me see here. Yep, I do have it backwards. So the way this sits is actually like this. So let me rephrase this here. We're gonna start off from the beginning. So once you have your washer and your valve set up here, which is basically you're gonna take your washer, put your gasket on there, and poke your valve through, or your opener. The little spring is going to go right here on it, and this valve will go in here just like that, and try to line it up so it'll sit in there just like that. And then we're going to have our big spring sitting up here, and then this is our top hat. It has a little cup area where the spring fits, and this would all be sandwiched together. Let me see in theory if this is how this would work. Yep, that is how it would work. So that's how everything comes out together, because when I opened this, it basically flung out. So we're going to have our top hat, which goes here, and then we have our spring, and then when we open up our housing here, now this housing, there's nothing left, just plastic, so that does that. And then we have our bottom spring, we have our little opener valve, whatever you want to call this, or like orifice that allows a certain amount of flow out, and we have our gasket and our washer. So that is all the parts that it's comprised of. Surprisingly, it's a pretty, I want to say unique design, but also very simplified, but also over engineered in a way. Like I never expected it to be this many pieces, and I don't think over engineered is the right word to use on it, but you know, I thought it would just be literally a spring and a valve, but you know, there's more components, so that's pretty cool. That's how a cap works, guys. When this little piece is all together, once the pressure rises, this spring gets overcome and it basically gets folded under pressure, and this valve opens up and you can bypass your coolant. Now just to show you guys where the coolant would bypass on this particular car, I still have the tank to show you. Typical bypass point would be if you look at the tank where the cap screws into, you'll notice you have this little hole there, and it comes out right about here, and this is where it would leak out the coolant where it needs to if it's under pressure. So that's the bypass side of it, and that's what this whole valve mechanism serves, just basically pressure release. If in case the coolant system overpressurizes and wants to explode, it has some way of venting itself so that doesn't happen. It doesn't damage a lot of items. So it's you know, pretty basic, but you know, like I said, complicated, I guess, in the same sense, type of system when it comes to this cap. There's actually a lot of technology in here, and I'm surprised that that would be a little bit more basic or less parts. But apparently, you know, that's why we tear these down, guys, just to see what's in them. And sometimes I get as surprised as you guys. So that's how you tear down your coolant cap and what's inside of a coolant cap. All of this is trash now, guys. Throw it away. I did have an idea for this cap though that I might make a video on, so stay tuned. I might show you guys how to make a tool out of an old cap here. But regardless, this video has pretty much come to an end. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. I definitely appreciate it, guys. It definitely helps the channel grow. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.